Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, welcome if you are new. Today we are going to be doing the Indie Reader book tag. This was created by Cassidy from Covers with Cassidy, and she's written a few questions and I'm going to answer them as an indie lover. I was tagged by Mel from Mel Reads, and I think she was the only person who tagged me. I think. I did get tagged in quite a few different videos, quite in quick succession, so I think I've picked up every video that I've been tagged in. I think. Anyway, so let's just dive right into the questions. Question number one, what got you into reading indie fantasy? Initially, when I first started reading as a teenager / adult, I didn't really read fantasy. I mostly read thrillers and I tried to force myself to read what I thought people were supposed to read. And it wasn't until I met an author called Kayla Kirby when I used to beta read and proofread for people way back in 2016-2017, when I used to work with a book tour group that's no longer around. I met a woman called Kayla Kirby, and she released a book called Souls of This Broken City, and that was the first time it was like a dystopian fantasy, quite dark, and it was just like a whole new world for me. Unfortunately, she no longer sells that book, she no longer writes, but that book stuck in my head. I'm gutted that we didn't get a book too, but I still have it on my Kindle and I'm never going to delete it. Even if she comes back to writing and rewrites it, it's just not going to happen. But in recent years, it's been KJ Sutton. She was the one who I saw Ashley from Follow Through Fiction and Becca from Becca and the Books talking about the Fortune of Swan series, and I immediately wanted to go pick it up, and I was in love. It's dark paranormal romance with all the fun of like fae and werewolves and vampires and all that jazz, and it's got a great story to it, and I was hooked from the first book. Endless Terrors is out soon and I can't wait. So when it comes to sort of fantasy romance, I don't read that much anymore, but what actually got me into fantasy would be KJ Sutton. What is your favourite thing about indie fantasy? My favourite thing, would sound so cheesy now, is like the community. For the most part, I know that recently there's been a bit of an uproar about a particular author or authors, but for the most part, the authors and the community are great. I've got so many great recommendations from Andrew from Andrew's Wizard Reads, Dom from Dominish Books, Chelsea from Not Secret Bookaholic, Cassidy from Covers with Cassidy. They're all people that I will go to for book recommendations. There's also Kay from Kay's Hidden Shelf, Tori from Tori Talks. There are more and more people that I found through other people that I watch that love indie fantasy as much as me and will just rave about them. Tori is also an author, and I have a copy of her book Phased, and I'm also very excited to get to that. But yeah, that's my answer. Number 3, what is your favourite indie fantasy books or series? Well, it was indie first, Legends and Lattes, but it's now trad, so I can't use that. I would probably say my favourite series at the moment would be The Bound and the Broken by Ryan Cahill. When it comes to adult, is his series, but I have to also pick like a YA, Boy and His Dragon, and that's the Songs of Chaos series by Michael Lamilla. I can't pick between those two. They've both left imprints on me for different reasons, and I'm going to be rereading the Bound and the Broken series soon, which scares me. Started so many different indie series, but just not continued them. Like No Land for Heroes, started that series and not continued. Whoops. Number 4, what is one high priority indie fantasy on your TBR? All of these that are currently unread, most of these are unread. Those are read at the top. You've got I don't know if you can see my L.L. McRae. Yeah, L.L. McRae's, oh no, it's just over there. They're red. Shadowgate, one of them, I need to read. I need to read A War and Ruin to catch up with Ryan Cahill. I've got to read Adol's Sin, Bones to the Wind, because I think there's 2 more books out in that series now. Or the 3rd one is due out. I'm just looking at my shelves now. So many. Trials of Ashmount, Price of Power. There's a new one, novella called Manticore Park by Quenby Olsen. There's a second book in the Miss Pierce's Pocket Guide series that I want to read. So many, so many. I could share my list of indie books with you and it would be all of them, basically. Number 5, where do you find out about indie books? Mostly through the recommendations of the people that I've just mentioned in the previous question, but also joining the Discords and Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, is the main place that I found out about indie fantasy, because once you follow one author or one reviewer, obviously it picks up what kind of things you like and other people get recommended to you and you see their feeds and things. So it's just a great place to socialise. And I know that people are moaning about like toxic Twitter and all this lot, but I've still not found another platform yet that has introduced me to so many great indie authors where you can actually have a conversation with them and communicate with them, just like reposting their stuff and that kind of thing. Once you're on the Discords, you can talk in the different channels, but to share like your love for the different books and do cover reveals and things like that, I found that Twitter or X is just the most popular platform, and I found most of my reaction there. An indie fantasy you'd recommend to someone just starting to read indie. Where do you start? Do you want romance? Do you want YA? Do you want adult? Do you want some cozy fantasies? I don't know. So if you were going to go for like a fantasy romance, I would always go for KJ Sutton. I've read other like indie fantasy romance on Kindle Unlimited. I've not yet found another series or book that is a fantasy romance that has hooked me as much as that series has. There's probably some out there I'm yet to find, but if you're looking for that kind of thing, I would go for that. If you're looking for cozy, I'd go for Scales and Sensibility by Stephanie Burgess. Great. She's brought out Claws and something else. I'll put the picture here if I can remember to find it. Book 2 is out, and that's like a cozy fantasy. Adult fantasy, I will always go for things like We Break Immortals, Zach Argyle with the Threads of Power series, Ryan Cahill. So We Break Immortals is Thomas Howard Riley. I would go for Touch of Light by Tiago Abdallah. Oh my god, that book is amazing. I still need to read Shade of Madness. I'm sorry, Tiago. I know you sent me a review copy. I will get around to it, I promise. Cruel Gods by True Skies. How did I forget that one? True, like honestly, book 2, another one that I need to get to, another one that's high priority. That's more of like that's a great one to start with. And if you're looking for a YA type of fantasy, Boy and His Dragon, I will always recommend Songs of Chaos by Michael R. Miller, because Ash and Holt are just the pinnacle of a great relationship between a boy and his dragon and just like friendship and stuff. So read it. Book 3 is out. It's called Defiant, Ascendant, Unbound and Defiant. They're all out, available in hardback at your local Amazon. I don't know where you can buy them from, but I got mine from Amazon. Oh, the Broken Binding sell them. Number 7, your favourite indie fantasy cover. Oh, don't do this to me. Every indie fantasy book I've purchased. For various reasons. You've got different styles. Oh, like, you've got the simple style of a Ryan. I'm going to mention Ryan a lot because, like, he's one of my favourites. So you've got simple covers like Ryan Cahill's, which is just like a black and grey sort of background and it has like one image on the front. Or you can have things like this. Like this cover is stunning and it's matte and it's it's just great. This is also on my TBR to read, hence the little bookmark in there. A lot of them have like naked hardcovers as well. I'm not going to get them all down because there's so many up here that are all just stunning. So the one thing I'm not... See, I can't even say that I'm not a fan of it, because sometimes if it's done well, if you've got a person on the front and it's done well and the artistry is good, I don't mind it. It's just getting away from those like that look like they've been photoshopped, but you can tell when there's a cover that has been done by a really good artist. Do you know what I mean? That's got a person on the front. I'm trying to... Platinum Tinted Darkness by Timothy Wolf. That's got a really good picture of a person on the front. Do you approach indie reading, reviewing differently? Okay, so yes and no. If a person has sent me a book to review, and whether that's trad by publisher or indie, I mostly generally only accept indie published reviews, unless it's from like Black Crow PR. But if it's a 3 or below, I will always contact them to let them know that that's the rating. If it's an indie book on Goodreads, unless there's something that's really triggering and like I haven't come across this yet, whether there's just like ridiculous like racism, ableism, things like that in it that clearly portray the views of the author, which in a contemporary one it was The Handover that me, Jem and Becca read. That was one that I did a review for because it was awful. And it wasn't just a case of, you know, there's typos or there's, you know, anything like that. Like, it was really, like, it was just a horrible book. Nobody should read it. Like, you don't get any benefit from reading that book at all. But I tend to not give books a rating if it's two or below. Or if I've DNF'd a book, I'll just not put a review on it. I won't put that I've DNF'd it if it's indie. I don't know why. Maybe that's wrong. I am more likely to go to the author first to just say like, this is my review. Are you still happy for me to post this or not? I have had someone come back and say, it's an honest review, post it. So I've done that in the past. But yeah, I am more cautious about what I put out there with regards to indie authors, because I already know that there's so much stigma attached still to indie authors, and I don't want to be a kind of person that sort of adds to that. Like those people that purposely pick out typos and like send a ridiculous email to an author saying these are all the typos in your book. Yes, that has happened. That was on Twitter a while ago, and that is just ridiculous. Especially when those typos were just the English words that are spelled slightly different. That was just embarrassing for the person. Upcoming anticipated releases. Oh my god, everything. The Ice by Ryan Cahill. Tori Talks. She has a new book coming out, and she's done the cover reveal, like the release date reveal, and she's put this thing up on the Twitter, and it all looks like if that is the cover, then wow. But if not, then she's teasing me, and it's out in November. There's that one now that I'm looking forward to. I don't know, there's so many books. Can't genuinely think off the top of my head. It's like Endless Terrors, but Endless Terrors, the Fortune of Swan series, have been picked up by a trad publisher, so I'm just gonna, in my head it's always gonna be indie, so I'm gonna leave it at that. The author would you choose to write your story with me as the protagonist? So I would generally probably go for like an adult story, and I would want to be a proper badass, but I would also want to be funny. So I think I would choose, and I'm going to be cheating on this one again, I would like a collaboration. I would very much like a collaboration of Ryan Cahill, Thomas Howard Riley, and Sadia S. Samir. because those three, I love their writing, I love their world building, and they all bring different things to a character that I feel would be really beneficial, like, as part of a story. Like, Sadeera Samir brings humour to a story like no other person. He just makes me smile. I want to reread The Crew now thinking about that, because it was great. So, there's that. Yeah, so I cheated. Sue me. Indie fantasy more people need to read. Oh my god. I'm trying to think of an indie fantasy that not many people have spoken about recently that I read and loved. So, one of them will be The Cruel Gods by True Skies. First book of series that I read, absolutely amazing. I read it once, gave it 4 stars, and then reread it and gave it 5. Just, yeah. Call from the North by D.W. Ross. D.W. Ross is an author. I need to finish the rest of his series, but I would recommend those two, because although they are very active on Twitter and socials, I don't think they promote their books enough. So here's me promoting their books. I also say L.L. McRae, because she does promote her books, but I don't hear a lot of people talking about her books. Obviously people read her books because, I mean, she writes great fantasy. Why would you not read her books? But I think more people need to know about her other series. So she's got the Dragon Spirit series out now, which is The Citron Key is the novella, and The Iron Crown and The Shadow Gate are the 2 novels within that series. But she does have the World of Lunaria series that she wrote before this series, and I've read Marauder from that. So good, so good. She's recently rewritten and republished Marauder and with a different cover, and republished the rest of the series with different covers, and they all look stunning, and I need them all. I have the older version of Marauder and Palom, which are the first 2 in the series. But I think not only are these people great authors, they are lovely humans as well. So I just think support the human beings that are also great writers. That's it. That's the tweet. A lot of people have already done this, so if you haven't already done this and you see this and you would like to do this, then please feel free to do so. If you watch this and you're reading a fantasy and you would like to give this a go, please tag me when you've done your video, because I would love to know what your recommendations are, what your answers to questions are, because I'm always looking to pick up some new recommendations. So yeah. And if you do like me and you want to see more of me, please like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. If you're here and you want to let me know you're here but you don't have anything to say, please do a black heart, very much appreciated. And until next time, enjoy what you're reading, watching, and doing, and I'll see you very soon.
Wonder if you spend the winter all alone, yeah. Cause I don't please fall, I don't please fall.